Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Education. We'll be starting at 7:10 p.m. because we just saw a wonderful demonstration next door by the robotics teams, and it was a truly exciting experience, and watching those kids is an absolute blast. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And a roll call, please.
Raymond Pribiloff. Here. Heidi Campbell. Here. Andrew Goulet.
Here.
Charles Busatell.
Present.
Heather Arneal Roberts.
Here.
Phil Clark.
Here.
Sharon Stiltner here. Mr. President, we have a phone.
Thank you. Recognitions and presentations, Mr. Latos.
These are always my favorite parts of these meetings, especially when we get to recognize a couple students and me being a former athletic director, student athletes mean an awful lot to me and the things that they do for the school and the community. And tonight we got a couple great representatives here, and when I say student athlete, you'll see why students first on these. Jordan Efferson couldn't be here this evening. He was an honorable mention, all-state academic, but tonight we do honor Trevor Treppa and Kyle Allen. Both athletes here, both for football, received all-state first-team academic. That is compiled of grade point and also SAT scores are figured into that. And I got to know these guys a little bit over the years through various sports and watching them out on the field, between football and on the court with basketball, and just watching them interact in the hallways in the school. These are the kind of guys you want in the school, these are the kind of guys you want representing your school. True leaders, both in the classroom and out on the field. Just class guys, both of them. My pleasure tonight to honor both of them. So guys, if you come on up. Kyle, congratulations.
Nice job, Kyle.
Congratulations. Good work.
Good job.
Congratulations. Nice bow tie.
These guys actually requested that we would do this later in the meeting so they could stick around for the whole thing, but they promised in order to keep that all academics part up, they need to get home and do homework. So I'm going to let them off the hook and let them get out of here early. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. Consent agenda.
I'll make a
I
motion the
make a
Board of
motion that
Education.
the Board of Education approves all consent agenda items, including agenda, minutes, personnel items, treasurer's report, and bills as listed, items A through C.
Support.
You. Been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Information items, Mr. Latos.
Transportation contract. We had talked a little bit before that the end of Dean's transportation contract actually expires June 30th of this year. Spoke a little bit about it back in the fall, and we had talked about we will be posting that, and the bid will go out. It'll be online by mid-March, and we'll expect to get a couple vendors that may or may not bid. We spoke with Dean. Of course, they will be trying to renew, and but doing due diligence, wanted to make sure that bid's out there. So again, it will be out there. Dorothy's been working a little bit with getting that set up. So just to let you know, that's going to be up. So.
Now, is there, with bidding for transportation, is this anything like how, like bidding for food service? Does the state have things that they want people to do, or is it just, you just do it by your normal bid process?
Yep.
Okay.
Process. And we have a, obviously every district has things that are specific to them, so, because that could be a whole bunch of different things. Do you want a supervisor over there? Do you want, so a lot of it is kind of catered to what your district's needs are, so we kind of write a bid proposal out there and see how that gets filled,
How
so.
many companies do you expect?
Al, how do we do our due diligence on any new potential contractors that would be bidding on it in terms of comparing them with Dean?
Yep. Well, like I said, the bid process, they'll turn in bids. The deadline will be listed as well. There's only a couple companies in the on this side of the state that I'm aware of. I think First Students one, and then
ABC.
maybe one more, and then Dean. So I don't know who all will be bidding, but the bid will be out there, and then like I said, once the deadline's brought into place, we'll take a look at the bids and see what they have to offer, if indeed some of these other companies can provide what Dean does. And then we'll see again, we'll look at numbers, look at price, look at all those types of things once they get here.
Okay.
The second one, board policy revision. Unfortunately, one of the things that we've been dealing with a little bit more, and it's pretty common talking to our colleagues across the state and certainly in the area, vaping has become kind of a big thing, and it's middle school and high school issue primarily. But when you look back at our old board policies, obviously they don't really address this new form.
That wasn't around,
There is MASB would tell you that it probably is covered okay underneath your old tobacco policy, because it kind of does allude to it a little bit. But at the same point, they've also suggested along the way that we do something that specifically addresses that. So tonight I bring you as an informational item a board revision for our old tobacco product policy, and something that we would like to see revised, and we could take action on that at next month's board meeting. Or if you have any questions along the way, let me know. It really reads almost the same, just with the addition of I think it says something about e-cigarettes in there, but it's the vaping, basically the vaping policy, because we've been dealing with it quite a lot, so. And I think that's about all.
Hey, one more
Yep.
question about the transportation
Sure.
contract. Dumb question, but once upon a time, that was all part of our school district, right? And then,
Yep.
then we went down to the dean. Have we considered going back, or are you sure it doesn't make sense?
Yeah, where we are financially, just due to the age of our busing fleet, what it would be now, because since we've had Dean so for 5 years, we've done no replacements in terms of purchasing buses, things like that. Yeah, and so
That's dean capital.
we're really at a point now where I don't know that we'd be able to, not at least where we stand right now financially. It would be very difficult to build a fleet based on that. Anything else?
All right. Administrative report, still you.
Mr. Melrose at the high school.
Yep, tomorrow, actually, we undergo the whole staff at the high school / junior high, revisiting how we do our lockdown systems. This has actually been put in place a long time ago. Just so happened to have we had the tragedy in Florida that happened in between this. This was already scheduled. But it's ALICE training. That acronym stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. And it's looking at more than just locking rooms and kind of sitting in a corner. It's more about trying to identify where the problem is in the building, trying to get other people to evacuate as soon as possible, and in some instances actually confronting the shooter or the intruder. So we're going to go through that process again tomorrow. Again, it's a long time coming, but we're working really well with Lake Township on this. Keith Corporate will also be there, and he was trained last spring as well for this process. And again, it's something that's been needed for a while, and again, unfortunately, with the events that have happened.
One of the things, and you recall, we've been talking about the ALICE training for quite a while, and it's This year when I started and we met, the principal saw a need to be looking at this. One of the things we've also talked about, because it is gonna be a different look at how we do some things, I talked with Clay Township about possibly hosting a community night or a parent night, so parents understand what it is that they're gonna be looking at. Because it's gonna be a different look at how things are done. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be very
So, really, our step right now is we wanna get the staff trained, and then how we roll it out in buildings beyond that will, and again, that'll be with maybe a community night and something along those lines. But right now, our number one goal is to get our staff trained in it, so that's where we'll start tomorrow.
Would you hope to do that community night before the school year runs out? Or
I would think it would be yes, but I think it's gonna be, Phil, probably it'll coincide with when we're starting to let kids know, because we obviously we don't want kids coming home and saying, hey, we learned this new strategy and it's brand new to the parents and we're getting miscommunication. So, as soon as we know that we're gonna get into that part where we're starting to roll it out to the kids, then.
Are we going to be shown what you're doing?
I could do my best. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, no,
yeah.
I'd just like to know,
Yeah.
so, I mean, we're the ones that are gonna get,
Yep.
Well, even if
Questions.
tomorrow, it's 2:30, 4:30, if anybody from the board wants to be there tomorrow, that you're more than welcome to attend
When?
and see what's going on.
2:30, 4:30?
3:30?
No, 2:30.
2:30 to 4:30 tomorrow here.
And when,
So is it just the high school doing it?
Well, no, everybody's gonna be doing it, we're the first group being trained. You guys are doing it next week, right?
And we're March 6th, so next Tuesday, 3:30 to 5:30.
3:30 to 5:30 on the 6th?
At Algonquin, yes. And you'll get basics.
That'll be the rest of the staff then. So, and like I said, then also we'll have a community night where we can get there too, so at least give you an idea of what it'll look like. Okay. Anything else?
And just again, as we're moving on through second semester now, again, it seems like it was a little far away, but our state testing's coming upon us here. We've already put together the online sessions on the state website, and the teachers are busy preparing and going through for SAT and MSTEP, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Okay, Brooke.
Last week, our second through sixth graders enjoyed the finale celebration for Hoops for Heart. They were able to come out and Jeff Lutz entertained them for about an hour apiece, and they were able to win prizes and have challenges between themselves. So it was another successful year for that event. We also had our high school drama program. They were able to perform Beauty and the Beast for our second, third, and fourth graders, and the kids were thrilled, and it was really a really good play. They did a great job, and it got a lot of kids excited about maybe being in drama next year. And there was a lot of new kids also from the high school this year that had never done it before, so that was nice to see. Today, they started tryouts for a sixth grade performance only in drama, and that is going to be the most epic birthday party ever. So that is on March 23rd, they will perform that. Algonquin is going to kick off our reading month. We're doing Michigan-themed reading month, and we're going to have a family engineering night on March 1st. Calendar should have went home today for all of our fun events planned for the month.
Thank you. Melissa.
At Millside Elementary this past month on Valentine's Day, the students did their Leader in Me service project. Trying to come up with a service project for 5 to 6-year-olds that's meaningful to them is always a challenge, but what we found is that kids love animals, and I think more than people sometimes. So they wanted to do something for a local rescue, so they wanted to make the fleece blankets that they made last year for Love 'em Rescue in Marine City. So they had a spaghetti dinner with the help of Rotary, and the kids served a whole bunch of things, and they did a great job. They bought the fleece, we made the blankets, and brought in donations. It all went really well. It was a great time. It's all in our library right now, and the rescue is going to come to Millside and pick it up, so that way we can have the kids there to help them and to tell them all about what they did. So they're very excited about it. In saying that, we looked into March's Reading Month, and they would like to carry that animal theme through March, so that's what we're doing. We're going to do an author study on Kevin Hankus, who writes a lot of the mice books. And our family event in March is March 15th. It's a Thursday night. They are going to have an animal magic show. Should be very welcome to come out and check that out. So kids helped us plan that March's Reading Month calendar, and there's some fun things in there. Surprised, 5 and 6-year-olds really wanted a day that they could tell their best joke to each other. They could read their best joke to each other. That's what they were going to do. So I'm sure it'll be a great day full of knock-knock jokes. On the curriculum side, there is a handout. I wasn't sure if you had received it yet. While Crystal's passing that out, I also want to let you know that Kindergarten Roundup is scheduled for April 23rd and 24th during the day. And there's an evening roundup on the 25th at night. So it'll be 3 days in a row. The health department will be out on that Monday and Tuesday for roundup. The postcards are there. They are going out this week. So those are all set to go. Highlights from last month, Brooke and I attended a Title I conference in Lansing.
Thank you.
We were able to ask some important questions about funding and programming for our district and what we can do with that information and that funding in the future. Off of that, we came back and Ryan and I and Brooke and Al talked, and we have set up a day-to-day in March, March 7th, so next week, with a team of administrators and teachers to look at our data K-12 and really see how we're doing as a district on that continuum. And from there, take a look at, are there district things that we need to address, initiatives that we see common throughout all the scores? Are there areas that one area does, one level does really well and then it falters? So really sitting down and taking an honest look at those scores and what they mean to us, and then how that might help us drive our interventions and our funding with our title programming. So looking forward to that day of staff feedback and some good conversations and questions being asked there. Brooke attended the state testing conference this year and brought back all the information to schedule for testing. Brooke and Ryan are working with their staffs, diligently preparing for those state tests. They're also both working on finalizing those schedules for the upcoming state testing. Hillside and Algonquin attended the Leader in Me community coaching days, both for administration and teachers. We're able to bring those back and start planning for the end of the school year as well as upcoming things that we'll want to do. Second round of testing for NWEA is coming to a close. We have those reports coming that we'll bring to that March 7th meeting. Kindergarten through third day are in their second round of updating their IRIPs, their individual reading improvement plans. So calling parents, bringing them back in, talking about whether we saw improvements, whether they're still struggling, and making plans for that as well. Again, state testing's in full swing. Ryan talked about Alice already. I put that on there. And then to sum it up, we will be bringing the NWEA presentation to the board in March. So expect a presentation from the administrators about NWEA, how it's going, and what we're finding.
I don't know any of them.
One of the areas when they're talking about the day-to-days and doing some of those presentations, one of the things that we had talked about, we've got good tools now. We know that the data we get from NWEA is good, solid data. We know that, and it's a test where you can measure growth. You can test every grade level. Now the idea is finding time and making it drive your instruction, and actually looking at that data and figuring out what it means. And this is a plan starting that we're looking at right now, but I know into next year, teachers will tell you the same. They get this data, but what does it mean, and what are we doing with it? And that's where you make your gains. I mean, it's great to know, but it's how is it driving your instruction? What are you changing in your instruction? And those are the things that we really want to dig down deep into. So I've actually have talked to Lisa's here tonight, and I've talked with her a little bit, even though we haven't even gotten really close to sitting down with negotiations. One of the things that I know next year from administrative standpoint is We need to schedule some more professional development time with our teachers where we can start drilling down and getting our use out of this great tool that we have. So it'll be something that moving forward we'll be looking to do a lot more. Thanks, Melissa. Doug?
Good evening. Since I was here last, we received a $100 grant from MEMIC for one of our classrooms. That $100 grant will be used in our 4 and 5-year-old preschool room. I'm not really sure what the teacher is going to use that for yet, but we're going to work together to purchase some things. We also applied for a math literacy grant through ADVIA, and we're waiting to hear back on that. We are also, Miss White, who's one of our preschool teachers, her and I are working on another MEMIC grant to purchase some interactive weather components for her preschool classroom. That'll allow them to be a little more interactive with the day-to-day weather changes, and so we're kind of excited about that. With March approaching, we're celebrating Reading Month with all sorts of fun activities, but more importantly, each student in the building also received a book to take home, a new book based on their age level and development in the program. So the toddlers received toddler books, and preschoolers received age-appropriate books to go home. And the parents are encouraged to read the books with their student and to have the students practice reading back to them as part of our Reading Month activities. Also, we had our Valentine's Day party in February for preschool, and we had approximately 60 people attend that. It was a great evening. The students did some math games, some sequence games. They also decorated sugar cookies, and it was a great time. I heard a lot of positive feedback, and we had a lot of grandparents show up, which was great. So it was definitely a great time to kind of show off our program. That's all.
Good job. Good, thank you.
Board reports. I asked Jana to pass along the copy of the letter that Janice Holtz sent to me with a copy for each one of you in, and to please share them with you. And I had her scan one and email it to all of you. If any of you want your original copy, I have them here. Sharon has been on committees and what have you at the state level for quite a while, and we've usually over the years relied on her wisdom and expertise on who it is and whether we know them or what's going on. And
Well, my expertise is very limited. This year, the only one I know is Janice Holtz, who's been on the board at MASB. I've known her for 30 years, and she really is very good. The others are relatively new on their own home boards, and I have not met any of them up at MASB, so I can't tell you anything other than the information that a couple of them sent or emailed us. But I could really vouch for Janice Holtz, no problem.
this is a decision. We have to have this turned in when? By next week sometime. So this is a decision that we'll want to make now. Historically, we've made this decision just by consensus of the board. We figure out who we want to talk to. Jana turns it in. It's an electronic thing that you turn in to do that. I agree with Sharon to let's keep the person that we've got if they're doing a good job. Anybody
I
have
can support that.
anybody else?
Are we selecting one?
Just one.
Just one.
Yep.
Has she been on a board, or has she just been ISD all the time?
Oh, no, she's been on boards, and she's on her own home board, and she's in a lot of committees that I'm on up at MASB. She's really very, very good.
Bad Axe. She was on the Bad Axe board. Anybody else want their copy? Come on now, you got it right
I
here.
got mine.
Huh? Okay. So we're all in agreement that it's Janice Holtz is our choice. Any objection? Okay, so ordered. Jana? It's Janice Holtz.
Janice Holtz.
Superintendent's report. You again.
Me again, huh? Okay. A couple things for you this evening. First of all, on Thursday, Well, let me start with tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I will be going up to the county. We kind of, a somewhat, I don't want to say emergency meeting, but something that we felt's pretty important that we started to discuss as a group of superintendents. Lots and lots of phone calls coming in over the course of the last 2 weeks about school safety and types of what things we're doing, what things we have in place, what's the plan for the future, and we thought it's a good time to get together. So we're meeting actually up at the airport there, and we'll have Jeff Freeland running the meeting. He's our emergency manager for the county. So we'll sit down and kind of hash some things out and talk a little bit about what everybody's doing in their area and what things we need to kind of beef up a little bit, and other things that, how we want to answer some of these questions, because parents are coming in and parents are calling and emailing with some very valid concerns. And, sort of the unfortunate part is you can't always give the answer that you'd really like to give, which is nothing will ever happen. But at the same point, what you can do is you can get yourself in a position where we have a plan. We're very skilled in what our plan is, and we'll carry it out if indeed we have to. So I'll keep you posted on that one. Thursday evening, I will be meeting with Algonac Citizens Group, who I've talked to you a little bit about. Some very good people on that that want to see sinking fund will be the big topic of discussion, obviously. Martha Shemansky, Bill Foster, now Terry Wallace on board, Jim Newman from the island that we had talked to, a couple others that I've reached out to as well. So we're going to meet over at the Lions Club. Bill Graytop was able to set me up with a contact where I could secure a room over there for Thursday evening, which will get us off campus, which is probably smart too.
Yes.
Good group of people though. They are excited to, like I said, they have a real soft spot in their heart for Algonac and the kids that are going through. They know the needs and want to make sure that we're getting this thing through. So they will be. I'll again give you some feedback after that too. But I'm kind of excited about meeting with that group.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about the yellow or the orange?
That's next on my
I didn't know, because
list.
we got a note home from school, but I didn't know everybody else.
Yeah, and one of the things that we had talked about is a way to, a lot of times with some of the things that we're asking for or that we're hoping to address in the sinking fund, they're not visual things a lot of times to the naked eye. Sometimes when you're talking about fixing a roof or you're talking about some of these things, so people don't really necessarily see that all the time. Well, if you walk around here and within the next couple days in all the buildings, there will be 4x4 orange cards that will be placed everywhere where we're going to be doing some upgrading. So every computer, the ceiling tiles that look like that,
Gonna look like
all types of things. Melissa has one over there. You'll see those and they'll be placed all throughout the building on projects that we are going to address, and the hope is that people will come in, and what you really want to have them do is ask, why are there tags all over the place? Well, that's because these things here are all 8 to 10 years old and they need replaced. So it's really a conversation starter, but at the same point, I think it also visually, when people walk in and they start to look around, go, boy, I never really noticed that really does look bad, or I really, didn't realize that all these things were in need of remodeling or fixing. And so, again, a strategy that the Bonics have talked about and said works very
great
well.
idea.
Just really generates some good conversation and lets people know that, because sometimes, like I said, you could walk through a building and say, boy, it's a nice place, and just kind of never have certain things catch your eye. Of course, here where we have garbage cans in a lot of the hallways that catching water, it's probably a little easier to spot, but and have them on the registers of, where our HVAC's not properly functioning all the time and some of those types of things, so.
Are you gonna host something to bring the community in to see
Well,
that?
we've got so many events coming through here, Heidi, that, in the spring where we're hoping that we're drawing people in. But this message will be out here that we're, you know, we'll have this posted to the website too, and we'll also have it advertised out there that,
I'm sure the kids will start talking about it too.
and that's good, right? That's a good
It'll
thing.
go viral on social media too.
I think
Kids
Bill
will do
Bonnick
that.
said that our building in a lot of cases is gonna look like it has measles, so I guess that's a good thing, because it'll be all over the place, so. We are currently still in the process, if you recall, Todd Barlis left, our school social worker, and he informed us in December, he left in January, and we've had our school social worker position posted since. We've had a couple interviews, but in most cases, we're talking about people that have tons of experience and make a whole bunch of money, so to draw them over here has been, it's kind of difficult, and we're facing some of that right now. The other part of it is to get a school social worker certification. I've had tons of people that have applied that are masters in social work, but that doesn't get it done. They have to have the certificate for, or the school endorsement, and they're just difficult to find right now. We've got very few applications. We've gone out to, I've worked with the RESA, they've gone out to Wayne State, they've put our word out there, but again, just haven't got a bunch of them. What we've done, everybody that gets social work, all our students that get social work, what I've done is they've received a letter that explains our current status, that we don't have someone on campus right now. But what they will do, if they need to, if they have social work opportunities outside, or they can find someone to service them, the district would fiscally be responsible for that and financially help them out with that. We haven't had a bunch of people take us up on that, and I'm hoping that that doesn't become an issue. It's not the way we want to go. We want to provide that service here. I promise you folks, I'm contacted. I've got one other lead today. I had a lady email me back today. She's a retired social worker, but they can only work a certain amount of hours, and I basically told her, well, take whatever you can give us. But she's also contracted with another district that's in the same position, so.
Well, this is a bad time of the year, though, trying to find anybody, because they're,
It really is.
The certification, is it a difficult certification to get, or, I mean?
Well, your first thing that you have to have is you have to have the master's, and then beyond that, there's 3 classes that you could get. And what I'm finding out and talking to some of these people that have the master's is, for years, you know, most districts, or districts our size anyway, you only have one social worker. So people didn't bother getting the school endorsement because they figured there'd never be a position open. Well, now there's some open, and all of a sudden people are scrambling back to school to get those 3 classes, but that doesn't do us a whole lot of good today.
no.
And there's no, unfortunately, because we looked into this too, there's no temporary certification to where they can be working toward those 3 classes, which would make sense to me, but it's not.
Who
how
would
it goes.
decide it, MDE or the legislature? MDE could, so,
Well, it's kind of sad, because then you have nobody.
Right.
right.
Right, which is where we are right now. But again, I'm gonna follow up. I still got 2 more, the retired one, and then I've got 1 more that I'm kind of working on. So hopefully we'll have someone in place fairly soon here for you. They talked about Alice, so that's good. And then Melissa had brought up the NWA presentations that we'll bring to the board. I know Ray had talked about wanting to know kind of where we stand a little bit academically, and now we'll, after 2 rounds of data, we should have some of those answers and be able to present that information to you. So that'll be in March. And I think that's it for me, sir.
I hope so. Visitors and their requests?
None.
None. Action items, budget amendment.
Dorothy's going to share a little bit about that for us tonight, and just give you a little bit of an indication of where we're at and what you guys are taking action on.
Thank you, Al. If you would please turn to page 37 of your board report. We have a proposed comparison spreadsheet that compares the 17-18 original adopted budget to the current amendment we request today. This amendment shows you that we began the 17-18 school year with $1,138,986, and that represents 7.35% in fund balance. The original budget, if you look in the first column, the 17-18 original budget toward the bottom, it illustrates that we are adding $379,737 to the fund balance. However, due mostly to the foundation allowance loss of 83.5 students blended, we're not going to be adding to fund balance as the original projection indicates. If you look at the far right variance column toward the bottom, the total net revenue loss after all revenues have been updated for this current year amount to a negative 466,647, a loss of 466,647 in revenue. And looking down, the expenditures, the net expenditures remain relatively the same, with a slight decrease in expenses of 32,107. So we're pretty much where we projected the expenses at, but not the revenues. Okay, so in short, this first amendment of the school year projects that we will not be adding to fund balance. We will be dipping into fund balance 54,803, leaving the projected ending fund balance at June 30th, 2018 at $1,084,183, or 6.91%. And if you turn to the pages after that, there's a summary of the revenue and expenses, the differences by function, if you have any questions. With that, I request board approval of the February 26th budget amendment as presented after any questions you may have.
One of the things too, Dorothy and I have had some conversations about this, and if you recall, last year we sat down and when we went in looking to how we were going to get out of the hole that we were in, cut nearly $700,000 out of the budget, and like I said, a lot of that had to do with some of the things that the teachers helped us with, and certainly some of the things that we cut, including eliminating the assistant superintendent position, some of those types of things. Had we not done that, we figured what our fund balance would be, and on the very bottom end, it would be about a 2.34%, and at the very best, it would have been a 4.17%. So the fact that we were able to do that, and we all know what the threshold is, the 5%, staying above that, we were able to get north of that number very quickly. And when we had met with Treasury and they had talked about a potential 2-year plan to get us out of that, we flipped that pretty quick in 1 year, and got again north of 5%. And so even where we stand right now at almost 7%, a heck of a lot better spot than we were in last year. And that's with losing 83 students, knowing that in the original budget from last year, we projected no loss. We rolled our old budget, and we know that we won't make that mistake again this time for sure. But the fact that you can lose that kind of student loss and still be able to turn from a 2.34 to 6.91, people are doing things the right way, and people are being fiscally responsible, and we're not being frivolous in what we spend. And I really want to point that out, where I'd love to operate around 10%, and I'd love to get there at some point, but you're not going to do that in 1 year. And so better times are coming in terms of student numbers. We are almost getting to the point where the big classes that are going out, I think we got one more, and then after that, those numbers will balance a little bit better for us, and we should be in, like I said, it's going to be a process, but Dorothy, you tell me. I mean, we're heading in the right direction.
Going north.
Yeah.
And That's good. We're
The-
on Treasury's watch, and they'll be checking on us, but we're good.
The seniors right now are the last big one, or is it the juniors that
They're
are?
146.
Yeah.
And everybody else behind them is like.
And then the
110.
from the juniors, it goes way down, because I know there was that spike that was moving all the way through over the years.
And then we get down to some, we've got some like the 7th and 8th grade classes, 99 or 100. I mean,
Right.
we've got a couple bigger ones mixed in there, but for the most part, those days of the 50 or 60 differences, those are gonna go away pretty soon for us. And, you know, if Melissa can get out and recruit some more kindergartners for us this year.
Right.
So we should be in good shape. But again, it's, you know, it's still not, I mean, like I said, I'd love to be able to operate around 10%. We're not as worried, but we're not there yet. We know that. We gotta continue to be conservative, and, we will. We'll keep us off of that watch list, so.
I know RD 80 was the graduating class from last year to this year. How many of those were school choice that left?
Our school and choice
Those are
numbers
pretty
in
even.
county are even. We lose more to Anchor Bay than we're getting from Anchor Bay right now, and that was pretty much a direct result of when Fairhaven closed. Some came back and some didn't, so that would account for the rest. But in terms of in county, between us and, really it's between us and East China, and we kind of trading kids. We don't have a big number, big discrepancy either way. Out of county, like I said, we probably lose a little bit more to Anchor Bay than we get from them, but.
I know I spent the weekend up at CMU taking MASP classes. We're not the only ones in this position. I mean, a lot of people freaked out when I told them we had lost 27% of our kids since
Right.
2006. Half of them wondered how we even stayed afloat.
Right.
But everybody's in the same boat. People
Yep.
just aren't having kids anymore.
And it's not just, these are not just Algonac problems, and they're not just Michigan problems. This declining enrollment thing, this is
It's-
all over the country. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's,
But the one thing they kept on saying, well, you need to market your school, market your school, market your school. And I'm thinking, well, that's money that you're spending marketing your school, that you're paying an advertising company to market your school. Well, if everybody does that, it's not gonna change much.
It doesn't
Right.
change anything.
It's just gonna be money that you could have used somewhere else. I think the way we're marketing our school is with what we saw tonight.
Yep.
I mean,
that's it.
let people know what we're doing here.
Yeah.
You know, when I told them that the one thing we can be proud of is, yes, we had to cut teachers, but we never touched the program.
That's
We
right.
actually added programs.
Yep, that's right.
And so, I mean, it's a statewide, national-wide
Yep.
thing. People just aren't having kids anymore. And until we get to the point where
Darn
all the
millennials.
classes are even.
Yep.
you
Well,
know,
fortunate or unfortunate, we're getting there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just, we're gonna be, you know, when I look at the numbers moving forward, and it's hard to predict what you're gonna have incoming, but, you know, 1,400 students is probably where we're gonna be at some point, and that'll be kind of where we, you know, we're gonna be around
It's
just
not a
over.
horrible thing.
No, it's not.
It's not a horrible thing.
Mhm.
I'd rather be in a small school than a huge school.
Yep.
You know, that's the one thing I push about Anchor Bay. You want to be in a class that has 110 kids, or you want to be in a class that has 700 kids?
Yep.
And I think when it comes to teacher appreciation, we need to do what we can there too.
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Because that's-
yep, and
that's
we,
what's getting us here.
I agree, and, you know, one of the things that we had talked about, and, you know, negotiations has not been fun for anybody in the last 3-4 years, but, you know, that group has definitely shouldered a lot of what we've had, and, but the idea always was, you know, when we get back, we're not, you know, if I sat here and told you we're gonna settle in at 10%, I think Lisa's gonna probably come over here, the table here on me, so I think I'm gonna, you know, what we had talked about was we needed to get back, we knew that, we were in a very critical spot. We have surpassed that, we're back in the right direction, and absolutely that group needs to be appreciated and recognized, and there's only one way that I can think of to do that, and I think they know what that is, so.
MASB recommends 8%, just so you know.
Okay.
So that's it. Dorothy, anything else?
No, that's it.
How many amendments do we normally do in a school year?
We'll do one more in June,
Okay.
and that's coupled with the new year. There's
Yep.
2 budgets that come in
So
June,
like closing the
so.
old, bringing in the-
Right, so 5 months from now, I'll be bringing another when we get closer to.
Historically, there have been times where, due to varying circumstances, where there were large swings in either revenues or expenditures. In the years I've been here, there were times where we did it several times in a school year. We got it down to where, at the most, you do it now after that second count. And there have been times where we haven't had to do one from the time we adopted the budget until just before we adopted the new budget. So having one or none is pretty much the norm these days for, unless something drastic were to happen at other points, this is about it.
No, so because of the condition last year, we did
Right.
the amendment earlier, so
Right.
you knew, the board knew where we stood
Right.
earlier.
Right. So, I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approves the resolution for Budget Amendment Act Number 1 of the 2017-2018 year for the general fund as presented. A copy will be attached to the minutes.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes. There you go, as you requested, and motion to adjourn.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose.